Hey Leafers, this is SUPERZOMGBBQ, and today we are going to talk and touch on one of the most talked about topics of the last couple of weeks. The big topic of when is a new tier coming out? Are we going to see a season 4? What is the future of WWE Supercard? And we're going to touch on a variety of different subjects. And one of those subjects was the Team Ring Domination event, which I streamed last night. We had a great amount of you turn up. Thank you so much if you were on the stream. If you don't follow me on Twitch, you need to go and make sure you do so. We are going to claim The Undertaker right now. Here he is. That is a brand new pro. I look forward to this week's Ring Domination, where we're going to be able to level this bad boy up. But that's one of the reasons why this conversation has come up. Because of the amount of high-level cards that are currently being placed in the events, team events, as of late. The inclusion of Ty Dillinger last week in Road to Glory, there is a lot to cover off. But before we get into this, if you like what you see and you want to see more talk and theories about things such as Season 4, because we've lasted this long, guys. The guys in WWE 2K17's community were talking about the next game in April, whereas we are only just touching on Season 4. I think that's pretty good going. If you want to see that kind of stuff, then smash the like button. In fact, if you could hit it with a curb stomp, that would be awesome. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. But let's get right into the specifics of why we're talking about the future of WWE Supercard. The biggest reason is because of the amount of WrestleMania cards that have been used so far. And after doing a little bit of research, I came to a little bit of a startling discovery. We only have 6 WrestleMania 33 cards left before WWE Supercard has used up every single WrestleMania 33 card. So I'm actually now not surprised why you're starting to see some of the best cards being used now. We are currently outstanding an event with Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, Triple H, and John Cena, some of the best cards, and Rusev and Rich Swann, which probably won't feature, and if they do, they'll feature in Ring Domination or in a Road to Glory. Other than that, unless they put any other cards in, those will be pros for people who got the cards in previous events. Now, of course, what I haven't mentioned is the lack of female cards, and there is every possibility that WWE Supercard could introduce, and I think as early as this week, a female card into this week's Ring Domination. And of course, I mean a WrestleMania 33 female, not an event female. We've already had that with Bayley and Alexa Bliss in the Money in the Bank. I don't think that we're going to see that. But the event card could give us more of an insight as to whether we're going to see a new tier soon, plus other events in WWE and WWE Supercard's history could potentially lead to us being able to predict whether we're going to get a brand new tier anytime soon, and whether we actually need a new tier. Another point that's very, very clear is they're now adding pros into the mix. We had Ty Dillinger last week, and just look at the difference in cards between the Ultimate tier and the WrestleMania 33 tier. When Ultimate tier came out, you had Hardened, Elite, and Ultimate, and all of those tiers were introduced at once. Now, if other events that we couldn't predict, such as the Unlimited Pool Glitch, some other big problems with WWE Supercard Season 3 when it first launched, Hardened, Elite, and Ultimate come and go quite quickly, but actually lasted for 4 months, or almost 4 months. WrestleMania 33 tier has only been with us since March the 16th, but already, as you'll see, we've only got 102 cards in WrestleMania 33 tier compared to 150 in Ultimate tier. Plus most of the WrestleMania 33 cards that are available, plus there are more females in the WrestleMania 33 tier compared to males when they take a ratio and a percentage of both, which goes along with my prediction that WrestleMania 33 tier was never intended to be as long as Ultimate tier. The fact is they could start throwing pros at us, especially if they're going to introduce 1 or 2 more tiers. And the entirety of the time that Ultimate tier was the top tier, they never introduced a pro to us until after WrestleMania 33 tier. The other thing that's confusing, although not necessarily a sign, is the lack of throwbacks and fusions. Now, the lack of fusions I'm not surprised about because of how long it takes for the Hardened, the Elite and the Ultimates to be done. I mean, I still have SummerSlam fusions I haven't even used. The other fact is that the throwback packs were only first introduced 4 weeks after Season 3 went live. So you would assume that that was the direction they were going in, especially as fusions came in so late in the tier. So the Throwback Plus pack coming in so early, but then not showing up in WrestleMania 33 tier, gave me an idea that this wasn't necessarily going to last as long as we expected. Also, with Team Battleground Awards changing only this last week, that also gives me a sign that maybe they're trying to prepare to stop people getting female awards immediately. And maybe they threw it out into WrestleMania 33 tier as a test and how likely it was people were going to get female cards before realizing they were going to probably get some female pros quite easily. Well, changes in Team Battleground mean that people are still going to have to play and grind for the new tiers females. Another reason why is the Money in the Bank rewards. They end in 15 days time, which just so happens to be after the next Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which means the next rewards are very likely to be Money in the Bank themed. And believe it or not, we're actually coming up to a 1-year anniversary of the Money in the Bank mode going live, the date of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Now, yes, it is a SmackDown only event this time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we will not get ourselves a Money in the Bank tier, and these rewards could be brand new Money in the Bank tier rewards. Now, a few people are going to argue that in the WrestleMania tier they didn't introduce the Money in the Bank card straight away, but that was because, in my opinion, the Money in the Bank rewards started in WrestleMania 33 tier the week that the tier was released, which meant that people would have had a event Shawn Michaels and 2 Money in the Bank cards immediately. So the Money in the Bank pay-per-view coming next week is a big sign that something could be happening for that event, even if they just do very special event for that, maybe double the Money in the Bank contracts for that one weekend only. I'm not necessarily sure that's all they'll do, especially given that they're coming up to their regular update cycle very, very soon. An update for WWE Supercard is usually released once every month or once every 6 to 7 weeks, and there's only been one update, and I believe that was SummerSlam tier last year. To when Season 3 was released, it actually took longer for that to happen, but that was because it was the end of the game and Season 3 was released. But the signs of a change or a new tier or new features coming into the game is usually signaled by the introduction of fusions or throwbacks, so this may be just talk and more predictions than anything. I just can't expect them to go forward with only 6 cards left, which would actually mean, if you count the events, they've only got about another 6 events left before they'd have to introduce either a new tier or new cards in the game before they start giving people pros pretty much for free if they've been playing the entire tier. Which wouldn't be a bad thing, but you got to think about it. That's probably not going to happen. So I'm going to give you my predictions of what I think is going to happen. Now, this is only prediction, so don't take it as gospel. My first prediction is that we will see either a female or a throwaway card used for this week's Ring Domination. I think the female card would be a great way of maybe injecting a little bit of adrenaline, especially as the tier is coming towards the end of its life as such. And here's the other point: if the event card this week is as overpowered as Jericho was an Ultimate tier, there is every possibility that this could be the last event card in the WrestleMania 33 tier, which means we could have a new tier as early as next week. But is a new tier all we need in WWE Supercard? And I'm going to give you the simple answer to that, and that is no. But if you watch my content regularly, you will know that my opinion on this is that WWE Supercard probably... talking about that Jericho, I'm just about to use him. This is the Jericho. So if you see a card like that appear on Wednesday for the new event, then a new tier is very, very likely. But yes, I do think that Road to Glory does need to be either pulled back for a little bit so it could be refreshed, or maybe even just introduce a brand new event that can take over. I think Ring Domination's absolutely fine, but I do believe, and in my personal opinion, that Road to Glory does need to be kind of put to one side for a time being, or at least withdrawn and made once every 4 weeks instead of once every 2 weeks. If they did introduce a really good card this week, or maybe another pro, or let's just say a female card, my prediction is that we may see a flash event next Monday to replace the team event, which means we would then be down to 4 cards or 5 cards left of the current WrestleMania 33 cards, but that would leave cards for people to be able to collect in the new tier instead of them instantly jumping into a new tier. Whether it's called Money in a Bank, whether it's called Great Balls of Fire, whatever the new tier is called, it could be called Extreme Tier, who knows at this point, but whatever the new tier is going to be called, whether it comes now, whether it comes in 6 or 7 weeks, 6-7 months, I don't care. But all this is leading towards what I believe is going to be a very interesting remaining 6 months for WWE Supercard. Why? Because I feel this is moving towards a Season 4, which could involve a reset. I'm not going to talk about that in too much detail now. All I'll say is that a brand new tier is only going to introduce more tokens to cards. It's only going to introduce more numbers, which are going to be slowly creeping up to around about 100,000. And looking at the potential calculations for a new tier, you're going to be looking at pros that have somewhere near 60 to 70,000 stat points, which is simply too high if you're looking at lower cards such as people in SummerSlam, Hardened and Elite tier. And then if you're looking at potentially a further tier towards SummerSlam, you're going to be looking at cards with stats between 80 to 90,000. But I'll let you guys talk about that in the comment section. Let me know what you think about these ideas, know what you think about a potential new tier, names for a new tier. I'm going to predict that we see a new tier dropped in the next 2 weeks, if not potentially within the next 3 weeks, which I'm going to predict is going to be called a Money in the Bank tier. And I imagine the delay for fusions and throwbacks was to include them in the next tier. But that is it from me. Remember to like this video if you want to see more discussion about Season 4, whether it's going to be an entire reset, what new tiers, what potentially are we going to see going forward. I would love to see a Kurt Angle card this week. In reality, I'm expecting to see AJ Styles, or alternatively, spoiler alert, Samoa Joe, given he's now getting a push on Monday Night Raw. Remember to subscribe before you leave, and one last thing, and that is to ZOLIF!